If I asked you what you think makes a good killer, what would you say? Would it be their strength and chase, ability to pressure multiple survivors at once, some form of speed, built-in slowdown, or ability to gather information? Well, it can be a mix of all of these things, as we have seen from the plethora of killers we have in the game, but I believe what makes a killer strong and top tier is two things. But first, let's look at the top tier killers to see what we can observe first. When you look at the top tier killers, there's one clear and common thread between them. They're fast and have great chase potential. Boom, that's the answer, right? Well, not exactly. There are killers who have good map traversal and amazing chase potential, yet they aren't exactly top tier. Take Dredge, Demogorgon, and Freddy for example. Dredge has arguably some of the best mobility in the game, tied with someone like Unknown. However, Dredge isn't top tier because being able to lock lockers and being arguably the most map dependent killer in the game hurts their power really hard. Then their chase ability basically turns any loop into a 50-50. Then with Demogorgon, you have portals which you can place basically anywhere and teleport between them, but you need time to set them up and they can be destroyed by survivors. Shred is an amazing chase tool, but since it's only one quick dash in a straight line, it makes it fall far behind when you compare it to many other killer special ability, like Wesker having 2 dashes, Pig and Chucky being able to hug walls and turn while they use their dash, or something like Pyramid Head and Nemesis being able to hit over a pallet. And Freddy, who can teleport to generators, which is a great ability, because unlike Demogorgon or Dredge, there will always be generators to teleport to, and there's no way to slow it down like with Dredge or being able to turn off or destroy their teleport like Sadako or Demogorgon. I mean, yeah, I think you can stop with Repressed Alliance, but I mean, who really does that? However, being able to become immune to his chase ability for 60 whole seconds by going to a clock is what makes him so bad. So it's not just about having great mobility and good chase potential, because even with killers whose whole kit is about being in chase like Trickster or Deathslinger, they fall far behind because they hyper focus into this category. They have 0 mobility, 0 way to gain information, and 0 map pressure. All they can do is chase. It's not like Pinhead or Sadako where you can just passively gain pressure by doing nothing. All Deathslinger and Trickster can do is use their projectiles and chase to gain hits. But now you may be thinking, well, why are they so low tier if Huntress is A tier, the most played killer in the entire game? And it's really simple. She just gets hits. There is no secondary mechanic to it. You throw a hatchet, it hits a survivor, they go down. With Deathslinger, if you shoot someone over pallet, 9 out of 10 times you won't get it down unless you have add-ons to build for it, and if they're injured already, you don't get anything out of it, you just put them into deep wound. For Trickster, instead of being able to just down someone, you have to hit them with 20 blades before they go down. You could either kill them with 20 shots or just 1. You can see why Trickster is so bad when he's slow and has 0 map presence and has a really long time to down with his power in most loops. Then there's even killers who are amazing in chase and have great mobility like Singularity. However, he isn't as good as other killers like say Spirit or Blight or Wesker. So what is the magic key that makes a killer top tier then? Well, if you haven't figured it out yet, there's one common theme between all top tier killers, and that is that their power is incredibly isolated. I don't really know what word to use here, so let me explain. Basically, with all top tier killers, their power relies on 0 external factors or survivor influence. You can use your power and you get hits. Now obviously this isn't a golden rule as there are many outliers, but this is the common theme. With Nerfs, you blink on a survivor and you hit them. With Spirit, you phase onto a survivor and you hit them. With Blight, Chucky, and Wesker, you dash at someone and you hit them. There is no requirement other than your ability being ready. To further explain this, as we go down the tier list, we can see this effect get amplified. For killers like say Singularity, even if you do slipstream someone, 2 things can happen. One is that they'll already have an EMP ready and can cleanse it super quickly, or another survivor can run by and do it for them. This is what I mean by top tiers having an isolated power. There is another part that I'll get to later, but let's stick with this. For Pinhead, a survivor can always go for the box as soon as possible. For Legion, if survivors spread out and don't heal, he doesn't have a power. For Plague, if survivors don't cleanse, you don't give her a corrupt purge. For all 3 of these killers, there are external factors in play survivors can do that will influence the killer. By doing certain things, you can make the killer much weaker overall. And just to clarify, some of these killers are still really strong A tier killers like Plague or Twins or Singularity, however they aren't top 5 top tier, if you get what I mean. Even further down the list, we can see it become even more obvious. Killers like Hag or Trapper who can easily be shut down by one survivor who goes around disarming as many traps as possible, basically making it impossible for them to use their power. Killers like Hillbilly or Chucky can just use their power and get hits incredibly quickly compared to killers who, need time to set up their ability. Compared to killers like Nemesis, who have to hit a survivor and give them a free speed boost every time they want to use their power and then hit them 2 more times while slowly having to level up. Like for Nemesis, if survivors are smart and know when to cleanse, they can cleanse at the end game to basically make him have 0 power and have to start from scratch and give everyone free sprint bursts again. I mean, if we look at all the top tiers of the game, all of them rely on how skilled the player is at using their power, how accurate your blinks are, how accurate your bounces are, how well you know your Wesker techs, how good your turns are as Billy, landing your shots with Artist, Huntress, and Pyramid Head, etc, etc. For all the top tiers in the game, there is no room for a survivor to like pick up an item or do an action that will make the killer worse in a chase. Their power is, well, aside from add-ons, always the same. Even for killers who are still very strong, they have powers that can be shut down pretty easily, like Twins if you hold Victor instead of crushing him, basically locking Twins out of their power for 30 seconds, or knowing proper turret placements against the Xenomorph, or dispelling hallucinations against the Unknown. For the top tiers though, nothing of the sort. Then there's the other half of the key which I mentioned, that being that their power is mostly multi-purpose. Look at Nerfs, Blight, and Spirit again. Not only are their powers good in chase, but amazing for mobility. This is why they're the top 3. For say Pyramid Head and Huntress, they, well, don't really have any mobility. They hyper-invested into offense but make up for it by having a consistent ability. Same with the Artist, but her ability is better because she can shoot through walls and gain information cross-map by shooting her birds onto a generator and seeing if anyone is there or if anyone gets marked by Killer Instinct. For Pyramid Head and Huntress, they just kinda use M2 to get hits and that's all. When a killer hyper-invests into one specific action and also needs a requirement for it, that's where it becomes a problem. Like with Nemesis, Deathslinger, or Trickster, you don't just get a hit, you have to either hit them again or a bunch of times like Nemesis and Trickster, or you have to drag them like Deathslinger. Unknown also kind of falls into this category too, since you have to hit them with the orb while they're weakened to get damage, but at least Unknown can teleport around with his clones instantly, which is like the fastest teleport in the game on par with Hag, and then that the orb has an AoE lingering hitbox to it, so at least it makes up for it. Another issue is killers who need time to set up. Dead by Daylight, patch by patch, gets faster and faster with more generator perks constantly being added, and survivors becoming smarter and better at the game, so needing to spend time setting up your power is a massive downside, or having a power that is RNG like Trapper or Pig. This is why I feel like Vecna can be an amazing killer after he gets his buffs, because he has the whole smorgasbord: info, anti-loop, projectiles, and speed. His kit inherently has multiple powers, allowing him to do multiple things. The issue, of course, being the long as hell cooldowns of 60 seconds and being able to just dodge under his only attack. So to recap and summarize, a top tier has a power that is mostly skill dependent with minimal survivor influence on it, while also having a power that can be used for more than one purpose. Now, this isn't to say that to make a good killer there has to be 0 counterplay to it like Nerfs or Spirit. No, not like that exactly, but rather make it so that a survivor can't use an item or do something early or preemptively to make a killer's power worse. And I'm not saying that all killers need to be like this, because killers do need counterplay and things you can do against them in chase, because if you don't, you get things like Nerfs, and we don't want that. Granted, some killers do have hard powers to counter, like Spirit, where you just have to constantly guess based off of sound where she is, or try and double back against Nurse, or try and, loop around Blight when he's so fast. But I mean, after the nerfs, he's much weaker now. But I mean, there are some killers who are too easy to counter, like Singularity, where you just rush EMPs, or Nemesis, where you cleanse at the end game so he doesn't have a power, or Legion, where you spread out and don't heal. Or, Dredge, where you lock one locker, so every time he wants to teleport, there's a 3-second stun on it. Stuff like that makes killers drop down significantly, because, smarter survivors realize, oh, okay, only lock one locker at a time, spread out and split generators against Legion, stuff like that. And, a smarter survivor can exploit this against a killer 10 times more than what the top tiers can do. Because, what are you supposed to do against a Chucky or Spirit or Blight? Like, what do you prep about that? Just run to a strong area, I guess, but that's about it. A strong area is a strong area. That's just a universal thing, not a specific counterplay. I don't really have anything else to say other than take care of yourselves and have a damn good one. Peace.